Hi and welcome to Indigo Starfire. My name is Bevin, and in this video I'm going to be doing some quick little love notes from your twin flame or soulmate. This is going to be a message cards only reading, and there are 3 groups to choose from. Group 1 is the Rose Quartz. Group 2 is the Green Calcite. And group 3 is the Star Mica. So if you want to take a moment to center, focus on your breathing, and feel whichever group, maybe multiple groups or perhaps all of the groups that you're most drawn to. I'll give you a minute to make your selection and then we'll get right into it. And there are timestamps in the description box of the video for each group if you would like to jump ahead. And up next is a close-up photo of the crystals to help you better make your selection. Hi, Group 1. You chose the Rose Quartz. So I'm going to be getting 3 cards from 3 different decks, and let's see, what does your twin flame or soulmate want you to know right now from their higher self? And they say, you are my twin flame. So confirmation right there for those of you that resonate with the idea of twin flames. If this is something where you're trying to move beyond labels, or this is something that you might consider this person more as a soulmate, you can swap those terms out. Just apply those terms as applicable, even beyond definitions. This is really indicating that this person recognizes that this connection with you is overwhelming, triggering, confusing, and deeply magnetic as it is, deeply fascinating as this connection is. It's different from anything they've known of love and partnerships before. Even if you've known one another a relatively speaking short amount of time, there's a sense of timelessness to this, a sense of the two of you getting reacquainted with one another or remembering one another rather than meeting for the first time, and the experience of this in conjunction with a lot of different kind of ascension symptoms that may have been kicked off or activated, a lot of things occurring in the chakras in terms of blocks coming up to this person's awareness to be released, an intensity of kundalini energy being exchanged back and forth across the distance between the two of you, heart chakra activations, telepathy, dream space contact, psychic gifts and abilities really enhancing, you name it, all of it. It feels like this person in one way or another, to a greater or lesser extent, on a daily basis is experiencing some combination of these factors, as much as they may have tried to push you away or run from the situation, or really just kind of ground themselves back into material reality, into kind of the fixed idea and experience that they have of what connection between two people should feel like, should be defined as, should look like. They keep being brought back to kind of this higher awareness that you, this situation, everything about their life, which has changed and continues to change on a regular and reoccurring basis, that this is definitely out of the ordinary. It feels to be the sort of situation where this person is starting to ask the sorts of questions that were never part of their wheelhouse before. These are concepts that they weren't really concerned with ideas about soulmates, about destiny and energy and, ascension. And it's going to be different for everybody. But in this day and age where there's Google, there's social media, it feels like for most of you, this person has in some way, shape, or form done a degree of research to a greater or lesser extent about kind of like what's going on. Why can't I get this person out of my energy? Why can't I forget this person? Why do I feel all of this intensity kind of in the aftermath of having connected with this individual? So a lot of them are on this path of seeking and finding answers. If they had been very much like recoiling from definitions and ideas like twin flame and soulmate, this feels to be the energy of somebody who's surrendering to that, trying that idea on for size as it pertains to this situation, and it's starting to fit. It's starting to resonate. This is the energy of a lot of individuals who are really awakening at this particular point in time, to themselves, to some kind of like larger facet of their own personal journey as a soul in this lifetime, but then really starting to connect those dots to correlations in the experience that they've had with you. This can be the energy of someone who has been previously kind of recoiling from this, in denial about this idea, in denial about these energies, trying to, again, just sort of hold on to a fixed polarity of reality and a way of looking at the world that they have been accustomed to at this point in time. But resistance has been futile in this capacity. And so now they're sort of taking the approach of, well, what if this is perhaps true? What if there is perhaps more meaning to the situation than I have given it credit for on the surface, than I was willing to admit, or than I was informed enough to be able to resonate with before. This is the energy of people who are educating themselves on these various sort of topics and ideas. And the more that they're learning, growing, and discovering, the more that they're being kind of pulled back into your direction, even just with the energy of questioning and wanting to observe, wanting to see you move, see you in action, see how you are responding to these phenomena. How has this changed your life? What have you needed to release? What have you stepped into? All of that is serving as an inspiration to help this person, your twin flame or your soulmate, to start to navigate their own journey, to start to make some difficult decisions and kind of have an idea about how to map out some progress for themselves individually, and then starting to open up to kind of the wider idea of what might be possible between the two of you in the future as well. And they also say, when you hear our song, know that I am with you. So song lyrics may be very significant at this particular point in time. A lot that they are not necessarily able to articulate in a 3D sense, precisely because they are still in this process of seeking, surrendering to answers, kind of wrapping their head around the knowledge and the information that they are gathering, marinating on all this, digesting all of this, and really coming to sort of learn a different language about how to speak about such things. Most importantly, to themselves, first and foremost. This feels like a time period where they're learning to kind of have a dialogue and a discussion with themselves about this topic, this idea, rather than just sort of pushing away these feelings. They're doing this kind of like internal investigation at this point in time, but might not be ready to yet speak openly with you about that, to articulate that, to have conversations back and forth. And so it's almost in the interim, in kind of this liminal space right here, while they're still in this learning curve, they're still in this learning process from their higher self, all this attention, all of this space that is being opened within, these kind of like points of clarity and these epiphanies and these aha moments. It feels that it almost translates in terms of frequency and energy towards you, in the form of telepathy, in the form of dreams, in the form of songs coming through, popping into your mind at random intervals, or you hear a song like on the radio, or as you're kind of like listening to some sort of streaming service, and you feel this person's energy around you. It feels like these are the words that they would want to speak to you in a perfect circumstance. In the ideal world, they would be saying things along these lines out loud, and that this is it's an accurate and almost the most adequate translation that can be made at this particular point in time, energetically energetically for sort of what they're stepping into, where they are at in their phase of this journey, versus kind of like all the work that they still have to do. This is what they can provide at this particular point in time. This is the indication to you that there's change, there's movement. Their attention is directed more in towards you than it has been in this previous cycle or chapter. What that turns into, whether that yields progress forward, is a completely different story. That's a different matter altogether. But quietly, internally, energetically, they are focused upon you, and that this idea of kind of like energy goes where attention flows. It's translating through in the form of sound waves, these kind of like energies of apology and healing that they wish that they could articulate. If only they had the words, if only they had the courage, if only they were at that kind of point in their evolution to be able to do something about this in a concrete and material way. In the meantime, the higher self, and energetically speaking, it's going to direct that intention towards you in the meantime. And they also say, let go of resentment. So that's a confirmation of that healing energy that a lot of your twin flames and soulmates are directing towards you at this point in time. Some of them may be staying a bit distant, a bit guarded and quiet, maybe just checking in energetically, because as they have come to these realizations, these epiphanies and aha moments, and it's causing them to see you in this connection from a fresh perspective, and from a different vantage point. It's almost like if I knew then what I know now, I would have made different decisions, or I would like to think that I would have made a different choice. And so, again, kind of these waves of apology, these efforts to get close to you energetically speaking, as for some of them, it's going to be like testing the waters before they approach in the material sense. For others, this is just kind of the place that they are at in this journey and evolution of, walking a mile in your shoes, maybe things that have fallen apart in their life, or things that they've been shown, or kind of revelations that have happened from within, maybe even through divine inspiration, or even some of this connection and contact between the two of you, like in the astral realm or in the dream space. A lot of healing energy exchanged back and forth, healing that you've done for yourself in your own life has translated to them on some level. That has been a beacon for, here's another way to move through the world, if only for yourself personally and individually. And for, certain individuals in this situation that have taken that opportunity, even if it's just a baby step in that direction. For others, these are like quantum leaps forward, and they're now at the place of regretting how they've ended things, how they've responded to you in this connection, especially if this feels like an energy of somebody you're still in kind of like some degree of communication with. There may have been opportunities for the two of you to go deeper with one another, and they kind of chose the path of fear. They chose not to act, and maybe a window of opportunity or several windows of opportunity. And there's a lot of regret as far as that is concerned, for delays that have been caused on their part, a fear of maybe you're disappointed, maybe they're sensing you've pulled your energy back, things have changed, you're starting to focus on yourself and prioritize yourself, and so it's kind of, it's leading to this energy of this person not wanting to be left behind, but not yet at the place of being able to express to you regret at sort of the choices that they've made, or how they've kind of handled or navigated this energy up to this point in time. So it's almost like a little bit of projection and blame still here. So some work that they need to do within themselves, where it's almost like they're at this stage of, well, I'm starting to understand this connection a little bit more. I'm starting to be a little more receptive, but I don't feel ready to kind of open up and talk about this openly, or bring forth some kind of apology, or reemerge from the past, because I'm not sure how I'll be received. I rejected in the past, and so now I am fearful of rejection in turn. And they also say, I need time to work things out. Just know that I want you. Please be patient. So confirmation right there for a lot of you that your twin flame or soulmate is endeavoring to do long overdue work on themselves. It feels like starting at square one, a lot of inner child wounds that are being addressed, a lot of tower moments that may have happened. And it feels to be really in tandem with efforts that you have made to detach from this situation, to just allow, kind of release this in love, and move forward on your own healing journey. You've now passed all that energy back to your twin flame or soulmate, sort of like, I'm here on this level and I'm moving forward in this direction. If there is to be anything between us in the future, these are the things that you need to kind of figure out and work on within yourself in order to be able to kind of gain that levity, to meet me on the level that I'm at and where I am growing towards at this particular point in time. And so with this idea of like patience, it's talking about, long overdue work within, a lot of kind of like internal clutter that's just been stacking up, a bit of overwhelm here. And again, these kind of, as much as this is someone who's like educating themselves about this situation, about this connection, about a lot of the phenomenon that they are experiencing in conjunction with this, twin flame experience with you, it's also really bringing up a lot of, it feels like, confronting wounds, all these barricades and these mistruths within themselves that prevent them from kind of stepping into that higher vibration of love. So it's almost this desire to kind of be there on that level with you, to articulate a lot of their findings out loud, to compare notes to a certain extent, or to, start making that effort, start endeavoring to kind of repair the situation in some way. But they're very much in an energy of recognizing that there's a lot that they need to release, heal, and transcend beyond before they're able to bring you something by way of energies of change, rather than more of the same, and whatever that cycle or cycles has looked like between the two of you up to this point in time. They also say, please give me another chance. So more of that energy of, really wanting to make up for lost time. Reconciliation is definitely on their mind at this particular point in time. But before they can map out a strategy and bring forth something solid, stable, reliable, something you can touch that, is followed through, not just with empty words, but corresponding actions, promises that can be delivered upon. There's this deep recognition of things that need to change in their internal landscape, and for a lot of these individuals in their material world and circumstances as well, before they are equipped to be able to match your vibration, the vibration you are cultivating on a constant basis, how much you've grown and evolved even since dealing with this person initially or in the past, meeting them, if you're in a no contact or a separation, the steps that you've taken to kind of pick up your own pieces and sort of heal and come to terms and peace with this, and kind of like, release, maybe even let go of that resentment. And now it's all sitting with them. It's all kind of like stacked in their corner, and they're needing to go through this brick by brick to be able to see kind of like what serves the highest good of them and of future potential in this situation, versus kind of like beliefs, energies, habits, things that they have in their life that are not conducive to a fresh start, or might have undermined or eroded the connection even in the past, that they're still kind of holding on to, and that they are needing to release and clear out. They also say, I know that I've hurt you. I'm sorry. So more of that energy of regret here. You may be sensing a lot of kind of waves of energy from your twin flame or soulmate coming in. If there's no direct reason for them to need to apologize, if you haven't gone into that no contact stage yet, this is almost just the energy of regret for not moving quicker in this situation, not recognizing and seeing and being very brave in the face of this kind of otherworldly or next level energy and dynamic between the two of you. They're recognizing that they've kind of put the brakes on in this situation. They've dug their heels in. There's a lot of resistance on this person's part, rather than kind of like acceptance and approaching the situation with an open mind. Although, not having all of the answers, it almost feels like the approach you've taken to this situation has been, largely accepting it for what it is, seeking to work with this, being very enthusiastic and grateful for these energies, versus this person who has kind of looked at it from a place of mistrust that really highlights a lot of wounds and shadows within, that are needing to be healed and cleared away before they can bring you something of a higher vibrational level, before they can actually deliver that apology, and that it's not just hollow words or something that leads to another repeat of the cycle that you've been in, but so that it's something that actually yields measurable change and growth, and the true turning of the page, the true beginning of a new chapter between you. They also say my beliefs are changing. So that's that confirmation there of, for a lot of you, this person, and everybody's situation is going to be different, but they're doing research. They're coming across information. For a lot of people, it feels like some of these things, they might not have even deliberately sort of sought them out, but just by virtue of like the internet age that we live in, and as they've been on social media, just kind of prowling around and doing whatever it is that they do online, it's like algorithms have suggested things. They're seeing things pop up in memes, ideas even about like spirituality, energy, or soulmates and twin flames. It's going to be a different level of depth for everybody. But it feels like almost through meeting you, through interacting with you in the physical world, and however long or short of a period that was, you, as much as you've been sparked and awakened by this person, they've been sparked and awakened by you, so that even when kind of these bits and pieces of information sort of floats in to their otherwise ordinary reality, they're almost equipped now with eyes to recognize the ideas here, to be able to be open and digest and really take in and resonate with a lot of these things in a way that they might have been blind to before or oblivious to before. It didn't have any kind of practical application. It just kind of slid on by as they're scrolling, or it's something that it just would have not even caught their attention before, and yet something has really piqued that attention. What they're finding, what they're discovering, it's like sending almost the truth chills, or these little kind of surges of resonance within, and it's happening frequently enough, and it's been perhaps even so eerie or spooky that as much as they may have tried to pull back or deny this before, for a lot of people this feels like they're starting to look at this. Their mind is starting to open. They're starting to explore. They're starting to ask questions. They're very slowly, and just even in terms of like where their attention is focused, they're breaking down those barriers from the inside out, taking in knowledge. Knowledge is power. And so the more that they are, kind of imbibing this, the more that they are seeking it out and kind of nourishing their mind and their spirit and their soul with these different kind of concepts, it is, as a byproduct, helping them to step more into a place of personal power, to start to really confront a lot of those shadows within, to start to really, confront and at least be aware of, on a more conscious level, kind of aspects within that have been deeply triggered by this situation, deeply triggered by the energetic dynamic between the two of you. And rather than just leaning in and trusting in that trigger fully, it feels like they're starting to enter into this place of why, asking those questions. Why is this? What does this mean? Which, that's progress in a very positive direction. Somebody who's willing to kind of come off of a lofty stance or a very fixed position, and even just in a very small way open up to the possibility of something outside of what they've held on to as their concept of reality. That is a major milestone in terms of progress in the direction of personal growth, which is what is necessary for this person ultimately to be able to bring back something meaningful by way of showing up differently in the connection, if apologies are owed, or to kind of carry on in the situation if there are no direct apologies that are necessary here, but to be able to participate with you more deeply and to kind of keep up with the direction you're headed moving forward. It requires this open-mindedness, which it feels like for a lot of people in varying degrees they're leaning into at this particular point in time. They also say transformation is not easy. So this is kind of like that push-pull dynamic. There are definitely parts of themselves, parts of the ego, and even, circumstances or people in their material reality that are very resentful of this opening within this person, things that are shifting energetically. This even ties in almost like with the information that they're discovering, concepts that have really sparked an awakening or an awareness or resonating with them. And as they may be trying to like discuss these things with other people who aren't as awakened, who are not on this trajectory or path in this particular lifetime or yet in this experience for some people, it's like they're not getting what this person's talking about. They're not as enthusiastic enthusiastic. These individuals may even be a little bit sort of triggered or irritated at the growth which is taking place, because they've been so accustomed to how this person has been operating at a particular vibration that fit in with something with these other individuals. So kind of like aspects within this person, within your twin flame or soulmate, are encouraging them to continue to remain very small and limited and kind of closed off, just in what's known and familiar. So they're getting a lot of pushback within themselves. It's like almost them triggering themselves. And it feels like also in the external reality, there may be like one relationship in particular that is deeply strained. The more that your twin flame or soulmate steps into their place of personal power and awareness, this other individual is like putting up a fight. They're putting up a fuss. They may be creating a lot of chaos or drama in an effort to kind of pull your twin flame or soulmate's vibration back down into a level that is relatable. Again, that idea of like not wanting to be left behind. This can also though tie into, your twin flame or soulmate realizing they are no longer resonating with like friends groups or interests that they once had. Things are changing vibrationally with them, and it is changing how they are interacting with the world. It's their eyes have been open and they're starting to see things and people in a different way, something that wasn't so obvious, that was a little more beneath the surface before. That it's kind of a rude awakening for a lot of them to see people's true colors, or even if it's just a matter of your twin flame out or soulmate outgrowing a lot of these situations. That feels to be something that there's like a period of mourning as they're needing to disconnect, as they're kind of embarking on another phase of their journey. There's a fear there of kind of setting off into the unknown. Are they going to need to be alone on their path forever? Are they going to find anyone else that they're going to resonate with? Is it worth it kind of leaving what is comfortable and known behind in the interest of kind of setting forth into the direction of continuing to follow this tug and this pull towards expansion, towards awakening, and towards you ultimately, and kind of exploring or reconnecting or diving a little bit deeper into the nature of these energies and kind of the meaning and purpose of your connection. And they also say we are still connected. Yeah, so this is something where even if you are in no contact or separation, your twin flame or soulmate is still thinking about you. You have always had their attention, and it feels like they've been fighting that for a very long time, and perhaps stemming from, as a result of work that you've done, kind of your energy has sort of experienced a massive kind of like up leveling. You're glowing in a different way, and this is serving as kind of like a lighthouse to your twin flame or soulmate. It's piqued their interest, it's piqued their curiosity. The more also that they're leaning into this place of sort of confronting these wounds and shadows within, learning and discovering these new things along their personal growth and kind of spiritual journey path that'll look different for everybody. For some, it's like they're already looking into twin flame things and soulmates and the nature of the soul and the nature of reality, and kind of these high level concepts that might not have been anything that they thought about, that they resonated with. This wasn't their worldview before. And the more that they discover these things, the more that they discover themselves, they're finding that deeper connection with you in the midst of this. On the other side of all of this turmoil, and kind of like clearing the debris away, opening their eyes to a different way of looking at themselves and at life than they have up to this point in time. They find you on the other side of that transformational process, which it feels like it's very intriguing. They're not yet ready to kind of come forth and speak about this very openly, but you've piqued their interest. They want to know more. And so you may feel, again, like their energy kind of beaming towards you at this particular point in time. Or if this is someone who kind of like ebbed away from you, they're going to start flowing back, because it's, their attention is directed towards you, towards this situation, towards this almost like liftoff point, where you sparked an awakening within one another, where you connected in the 3D sense. And then whatever direction your journey has taken from there, it's kind of like that ground zero point that is the basis for how they are starting to kind of like build and reframe this new kind of version of themselves and kind of the next layer of their reality. So I'm going to get some initials, and this can be a first, middle, or last name of you or your twin flame or soulmate, or it could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Okay, we've got E, A, U, H, Q, K, O, I, D, G, R, R, S, B, T, A, and D. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer them through my Etsy shop, and there's a link in the description box of the video for that. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters, including a longer video version of this reading that involves more cards and more decks. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of those out as well. And I've launched a second channel here on YouTube, which is called Lady of the Dawn Tarot. There's a link in the description box of the video for that, as well as in the channel section of my page. The format over there consists of readings related to topics other than love and romance. So if you're looking for something a little different from me, that is the place to find it, and I thank you for your support there, as well as for your continued support here on this channel. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 2. Chose the green calcite. So I'm going to be getting 3 cards from 3 different decks, and let's see, what is your twin flame or soulmate want you to know right now from their higher self? Okay, and they say, let go of resentment. So this can speak about the energy of someone wanting to come forth with an apology, wanting to ask for forgiveness, and almost like these, kind of like a secret prayer that they are saying to themselves, almost like, please answer the phone, please answer the door, please be receptive to me. If there was some kind of like a fight or a disagreement or a cup of love that was rejected in the past, this person maybe not being so open or receptive to the pace at which the connection was evolving at a certain stage, or at least initially, it's almost like they've let their guard down in some way. They're more receptive to this situation, and there's a hope that maybe after a period of kind of a rocky start or a bit of a turbulent patch that the two of you have been through with one another, there's a hope of being able to get back on track in some way, to course correct, to start to rebuild trust with one another, or to kind of increase the quality of time that you are spending with one another. If you're still in contact with this person, it feels like things may have kind of cooled off to sort of surface level pleasantries. There may have been nerves that were touched upon for one or both of you, some kind of like a triggering state or something that just led to a little bit of awkwardness or weirdness between the two of you. And you've needed to kind of go to your separate corners and sort of think about things, work on some healing, confront some things within. And it feels like that for the most part, your twin flame or soulmate has come to a place of starting to maybe see the situation from your eyes a little bit, looking at how they may have overreacted to something, but a little too like hypersensitive, for example, or something where they may have really been sort of like projecting blame or even kind of absorbing a lot of the responsibility on themselves, taking something very personal that may not have really been a factor that had anything to do with them, but it was just like due to some kind of external stress or like other things going on, kind of a period of time where the two of you may have both been sort of challenged and going through a lot of, things as far as like ascension is concerned, confronting kind of these obstacles or adversities in both of your lives, not necessarily feeling the best and not having kind of the best experiences with one another. This almost feels to be something that overall has served as an opportunity to strengthen the connection, because now there's an energy where, your twin flame or soulmate is appreciating you more. They're appreciating the role that you had in their life or that you currently still have in their life. There's a desire to move toward calmer waters with one another. And to, again, it feels like for some of you, this won't necessarily be, unless it's absolutely required to kind of get a fresh start going. It doesn't necessarily even feel to be sort of like an I'm sorry. So for a lot of you, this may be a situation where you're still in contact with your twin flame or soulmate, but it's almost just they want to show up to you in a different energy, a softer energy, more receptivity, less kind of like tension or testiness on their part. They may have really been kind of like clued in or had some kind of epiphany or awareness. Maybe other people in their reality have kind of checked this person and made them kind of see how they were very unconsciously just sort of, being very difficult to deal with in a lot of ways, or we're kind of like projecting or taking out these other kind of like stressors or factors, or even a lot of fear that has been sort of stirred up through the energies of this dynamic, and they weren't really dealing with that in the best way or in kind of the most mature or sort of self-aware manner. But there's been some kind of an energy of kind of looking within and seeing that, all the blame doesn't rest on your shoulders, that they're needing to kind of take some of that onto themselves. And there's a desire to sort of course correct how the two of you are interacting with one another currently or recently, in order to kind of move more toward the state of, let's try to repair this. Let's try to enjoy our, each other's company and our time with one another. Let's start to build beautiful experiences rather than continue to kind of like feed into the energy of dissonance and disharmony. And they also say, I'm thinking of you right now. So real-time confirmation there that you are always on your twin flame or soulmate's mind, particularly at this particular stage while they may be wanting to sort of course correct with you. Almost this energy of like they recognize some sort of hurt or disappointment that their actions or inactions may have caused to you. And so they're putting a lot of thought into this, sort of like, how do we move forward from this? Does this require like an outward conversation? Does it require some kind of apology? Does it require me to just sort of show up in a different way to sort of, tone down a bit of the extreme and kind of like reactive energy, or in some way to like find another location or venue to decompress from whatever stressors have kind of operated as a wedge or an interference in the situation up to this point in time. Thinking of like how to make this up to you, how to make up for lost time, how to make this situation right. And they're also thinking of you very fondly. So again, if there's been any kind of like awkwardness, weirdness, discomfort, or even if it's like full no contact and a situation where people have like blocked one another and ghosted, and everyone's just kind of in their separate corners needing time to really cool off. Your twin flame or soulmate has kind of like reached a place where, they're not as kind of mad and resentful and triggered triggered as they were before. There's a softening that has happened. There's almost this energy of like, well, maybe I'm to blame for this situation too. Maybe I need to start taking some of the personal responsibility here. Kind of the idea of it doesn't get us anywhere to continue to kind of point fingers. So, strategy that is being implemented or designed or thought of at this particular point in time of sort of like, how do we move forward from this point? How do we learn from this experience and kind of approach one another different in the future and going forward? They also say, I love you. So this can talk about, wanting to give that apology in terms of, I'm sorry, I love you. For a lot of you, this can also apply to kind of like a cup of love that was rejected in the past that might have led to the awkwardness or the weirdness between the two of you. And there's a lot of regret there that they didn't accept that cup of love, that they didn't tell you more often how much they love you, how much they appreciate you. Or this could even be somebody who hasn't said, I love you up to this point in time. Maybe you said it first and it got quiet, awkward, and weird, and then they kind of disconnected from the situation. If that's the case, then there's this energy of wishing that they had approached this differently. They've taken some time to really kind of look within and ask themselves, why is the gift of love, why has that been looked at as something to be avoided? Why in this situation is that something that was discarded? Why was that rejected in the past? So a lot of questioning within and kind of, this almost feels like somebody who might have really felt backed into a corner, felt some kind of pressure, pressure within themselves, and maybe even something stemming from you to kind of invest more in this connection than they were ready or willing or able to do in the past. But they've now yielded to something within themselves, almost like, on the other side of any frustration is that kind of core truth and reality that they ultimately see only love in this circumstance and situation when they allow themselves to. You do represent this idea, this image, and this potential of what love could become on the other side of a willingness to kind of work through challenges, move forward in a humble energy, release personal resentments, and work through any difficulties that the two of you have had, either through some sort of direct conversation, or just maybe even like thinking before they speak or react or overreact in the future, being more bold and open where they may have held back previously. They also say, please forgive me. Yeah, so definitely could be thinking about coming forth with an apology. I'm sorry I miss you. I'm sorry I love you. I'm sorry I overreacted in that way. I'm sorry I, didn't kind of meet your expectations, didn't meet you halfway, whatever that looks like for you in this situation. It's also the idea of like, please forgive me for, not expressing that I love you, or that I, have this deep regard for you, or that I'm, feelings for you are blossoming. I'm sorry for kind of pulling away rather than leaning deeper into that, rather than having conversations about these fears and exploring that. It's an energy of somebody kind of pulling back into their shell, or maybe a bit of self-sabotage that has happened in this situation previously, or has kind of like led to a no contact circumstance. And they've had time to think. They've really had time to kind of mull this over. And they've come to this place of wanting to work things out, wanting to ultimately repair this situation and circumstance. And a lot of thought that's being invested in kind of like how to do that, what's necessary, what all is required, how far do they need to go at this particular point in time, in order to be able to kind of like get their foot back in the door, or to make some kind of leap beyond whatever way in which sort of like trust was shattered, or even just tattered a little bit, kind of tugged at the seams. The vibe that the two of you had going on, any way in which that was compromised, or that became a little bit weird or kind of distorted between you. It's this idea of, I want to work to repair this situation, and I'm thinking of how to do that at this particular point in time. And they also say, I love you. So double confirmation. I love you. I love you. There's a desire to, if you're saying I love you, they want to say it back. They want to have this open conversation. For a lot of you, these could be words that have not been spoken yet. This could have been something where, your twin flame or soulmate was like on the brink of saying it. And they dropped the ball. They missed the opportunity. And that this is something that they've been thinking very heavily about. this missed opportunity and kind of like, am I going to get another chance? It was perfect. That was the proper opportunity. Why didn't I follow my heart? Why didn't I act upon that? Why didn't I just speak these words out? Why am I so afraid of this connection? You really mirror love to one another. You really do represent this new and kind of novel concept of what love could be. When they're with you, they feel this vibration of love, almost like beyond the need for words. There is this current of love that flows between you and your twin flame and soulmate. But when it comes time to kind of deliver that out into, words and then corresponding actions, it feels like that's when things get a little bit complicated. That's when the fears sort of set into the situation. This is also the energy of like kissing and making up. So any sort of rift between the two of you, there is this deep desire to repair that, to move more into the energy of love, to move more into a place of seeing eye to eye, heart to heart conversations that need to be had, or like a big conversation, a big revelation that it's like time for this to take place. And there's a lot of frustration with this, and kind of like almost this energy of let go of resentment may be sort of something that they're saying to themselves, like, why am I so resistant to this situation? Why am I so resistant to exploring these beautiful energies in more depth and with more consistency than I've been willing to do up to this point in time? They also say, I think of you every day. That is how much I love you. So a third I love you right there. It all comes down to that. You hold a very precious place within their heart. And another double confirmation of, I'm thinking of you. So the two of you are really mirroring each other at this particular point in time. Loving thoughts that you are having about your twin flame and soulmate. You're both almost reverberating off one another. These things are translating real time, energetically speaking, as you're picking up these vibrations of love. This is the direct product of them thinking loving thoughts of you. When you think about them and hold them in a loving space, they receive that, relatively speaking, in like real time. It might not be instantaneous, like if you're speaking words over the phone to one another, for example, or having like a face-to-face conversation, but in the general proximity, of time in a relative sense, these energies they're circulating around. This is not like this person was thinking loving thoughts and a week later you receive that vibration. It's pretty kind of like accurate and very close to, down to sort of like down to the minute almost for a lot of you. This kind of telepathy that's going on, this idea of like frustration as well, because you can both so palpably feel this. You're both mirroring this to one another. You both, from the higher self level, desire to invest more in this situation, open up more about these energies, say those words, have that out in the open. Have to move beyond kind of the need to sort of read one another's minds, or kind of like read between the lines of things, or suggestion or innuendo. There's a lot of frustration at like, why aren't we talking about this openly? Why aren't we expressing this love to one another openly? Why are we not kind of in alignment with this polarity of love that so obviously flows between the two of us? So this is someone who's asking a lot of questions within. There's a desire to course correct from where things may have veered off track in this situation up to this point in time. And for some of you, though, where these words, I love you, have never been spoken out loud, this can also talk about a lot of fear that has been triggered as your twin flame or soulmate is really giving a lot of thought to speaking that for the first time, or they're sensing you're getting ready to say that for the first time. Maybe it slipped out accidentally, or something that was just like said in a casual sense, but it has had a big impact. It's caused like a vibrational quake. Whoever was the one that said that, it feels like it mutually sort of reverberated between the two of you, and this has given them sort of food for thought. And it's an energy of kind of being tired of running from that, but implementing some kind of strategy, thinking of a way to kind of move more into tandem with those loving vibrations rather than anything that's out of alignment or off balance. They also say, I am doubting everyone around me. So this is really tying into the idea of your twin flame or soulmate questioning what they have come to know of love and partnerships up to this point in time, how they have defined that, how others in their world and their reality have shown them that. This can even tie into like inner child wounds, ways in which they were shown, conditional love. They had to earn love. It had to look a particular way. Maybe even just something they observed in their family and their upbringing that has impacted how they have proceeded in their own romantic relationships, maybe even like a guardedness or a closed off energy within the heart space where up to this point they have not been fully available to receive the love you have wanted to give, or that you've been trying to give or send. But with these mirroring energies right here, it's this idea of there may be like a bit of kind of crossed circuitry here, or these complications, but you're both kind of like swimming around this same energy of questioning love in partnerships, questioning the nature of kind of like what's possible in this situation, what does this mean, where are we going from here. And instead of just holding so firmly to those very fixed principles and ideas of how a loving connection should develop, what that should feel like, the pace at which it evolves, your twin flame or soulmate is starting to really let down those walls and those guards and those barriers, and starting to entertain something a little more outside of the box, something outside of their kind of expected or known experience up to this point in time. You've shown up as almost like a wild card energy in this person's life, and this is something that is very intriguing, but at the same time it brings forth a lot of things that are mirrored to them, aspects and beliefs and layers within themselves that do not align and are not in correspondence with kind of the free flow of these loving energies, the high vibrational love that's possible between the two of you. So it's an energy of like wanting to move back towards you, but getting a little bit tangled up at the same time in this energy of kind of doubt and all of these sort of untruths or limited or linear beliefs that have kept them only in the energy of kind of experiencing lukewarm love up to this point in time. They also say you are a highly sensitive empath. So this is confirmation right there. If you are sensing that there's a lot more than meets the eye, than has been revealed with your twin flame or soulmate, particularly about like, loving feelings or words of love, that, I love you, the big three that have not yet been spoken, but you're sensing it, you're feeling that. This is that confirmation from their higher self that you are sensing accurately into this. This person has fallen in love with you. They are falling deeper and deeper in love with you. It's almost like this snowball effect. Like they can't resist this. A part of them really doesn't want to, because it's so intriguing. It's so, it brings into kind of this energy of needing to confront everything they've known of love and partnerships up to this particular point in time. And although they have maybe mishandled this situation or been a bit clumsy in the circumstance up to this point, there's this energy of wanting to move more deeply into the situation with you, wanting to bring these feelings out into the open in terms of direct communication, spoken words, wanting to evolve beyond just innuendo and suggestion, and having to kind of glean this truth from one another energetically. And there's a deep desire to, have that conversation where an apology is expressed, have that conversation where feelings are discussed very openly, have that conversation where you're getting it all out on the table for each other to really see and to inventory and say, this is my personal truth. This is what I have come to understand exists within my heart for you. Do you feel the same way? And they also say, I'm going through a spiritual awakening. So you have definitely unlocked something within your twin flame and soulmate. It feels, again, this kind of mirroring both of you on this parallel journey, definitely picking up on kind of the energies of resistance and dissonance and fear within yourself, in yourselves, exchanged between one another, that it's almost kind of like the loving energies are translated back and forth. The fear is translated back and forth. You're kind of like walking these parallel paths in these separate worlds and realities. The things that you are confronting, it's almost kind of like the milestones or victories are the leg up, or sort of the clue or the guidance to the other of like, head in this direction as you are moving through these barriers and these kind of like outdated beliefs and ideas in this energy of questioning, sort of like, this is the way forward. You're both a lighthouse and a guide for one another through this process of kind of navigating, these paths of fear or limitation into the direction of like a higher vibration, to come into this place of alignment with love of self first and foremost, which feels to be kind of this opening to a deeper love being experienced and exchanged and actualized between the two of you in a material 3D sense. So I'm going to get some initials, and this can be a first, middle, or last name of you or your twin flame or soulmate, or it could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Okay, we've got Y, E, L, W, F, J, F, V, V, L, O, Q, and T. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer them through my Etsy shop, and there's a link in the description box of the video for that. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters, including a longer video version of this reading with more cards and more decks. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of those out as well. And I've launched a second channel here on YouTube, which is called Lady of the Dawn Tarot. There's a link in the description box as well as in the channel section of my page for that. The format over there consists of readings related to topics other than love and romance. So if you are looking for something a little different from me, that is the place to find it. I thank you for your support there, as well as for your continued support here on this channel. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 3. You chose the star Mica. So I'm going to be getting 3 cards from 3 different decks, and let's see, what does your twin flame or soulmate want you to know right now from their higher self? Okay, and they say, you are the one I dream of. So in a lot of ways, you are this person's dream come true. There may be a little bit of kind of almost thinking that you are too good to be true as well. That could have caused your twin flame or soulmate to kind of put on the brakes, pause a little bit, a need to sort of take their time in this situation to really vet out and gather information and experience about if the feelings and the sensation and this sense of soul recognition that they have with you, is this something that has the ability to ground down into something substantial in the material reality if you've yet to kind of experience that full commitment with one another. And there's also a lot of kind of questionings about if this situation has what it takes to kind of pass and kind of meet that test of time, to really stand the test of time. And so a little bit of testing that may be going on here as well from your twin flame or soulmate, you know, to see, are you really too good to be true? Are you the real thing? You know, are you genuine? Are you everything that you present yourself to be? And you're passing every test with flying colors. This is tying in as well with a lot of dream contact. fact, your twin flame or soulmate actually may be trying to like deliberately astral travel to you, to be a little more open or expressive in their loving energies in kind of the safety and the cloaked environment of the dream space, away from any prying eyes, and kind of where their delicate ego may not be at risk of rejection or disappointment, that kind of in this anything goes sort of space, they're free to explore and kind of roam the potential of the situation with you. You're connecting definitely a lot with one another also in the dream space, whether you're remembering your dreams or not. It feels like almost nightly connection with one another to exchange loving and healing energies, to kind of touch base from that higher self level of like, this is possible, this symmetry between the two of us as we continue to kind of like navigate these 3D challenges, or any kind of gatekeepers of the ego, that idea again of like the testing or the vetting out. Maybe this is very mutual and reciprocal on both your parts, kind of like once bitten twice shy. You're going to want to make sure with this person before you just open the gate fully to letting them into your heart and into your life, which is always a good idea, to kind of have that balance between the head and the heart. And so it feels to be something that there is also this deep contact within the dream space where you're almost encouraging one another to keep going, to keep pressing forth, despite whatever you may need to kind of reach this level of comfort within yourselves and with one another, to kind of open up deeper into the situation. The dream space is very important as kind of that touchstone of this kind of togetherness is what's possible on the other side of whatever the ego or kind of those fear-based programmings within each of you needs to kind of be satiated and satisfied and sort of quiet down, to lead into the space of trust, where you're just allowing kind of the potential to flow between the two of you more openly and in a less encumbered fashion in the 3D sense. And they also say, I know we are soulmates. So that can be that confirmation. You can also swap that title out for twin flames. It feels like, you defy all kind of definitions and explanations for this person. Again, you're their dream come true in a lot of ways. They're kind of in disbelief about this situation. They feel this deep soul bond, this past life bond between the two of you. They may have even started to have dreams and visions of your past lives with one another. A lot that's been brought up as far as unresolved kind of storylines from past lives as well, that may have led to kind of this energy of needing to sort of vet this situation out. A lot of kind of heartbreak that at the soul level has left a soul scar, or like a deep soul wound, where there's this urge to kind of just rush headlong into the situation with you. But then at the soul level, there's almost this energy of kind of like other experiences that you've had with one another, where maybe, there was a lot of unactualized potential, or obstacles sort of like undermined the situation. It unraveled, it fell apart, it didn't come into fruition, or it wasn't something that was lasting. And so this is something where the more you're kind of like learning to trust one another and lean into these energies and work with these energies with one another in a 3D sense, you're simultaneously kind of like healing and wrapping up those kind of loose ends from previous timelines and experiences that are beyond your conscious waking sort of awareness of the exact details, and yet the sensation has been brought with you. It's the baggage that's in tow, along with all of this potential and kind of this great sort of electric feeling that you have with one another, is also the sense of like guardedness and hesitation of like, these are the fears that need to be released, not just fears from this lifetime, but also previous lifetimes as well. So a lot of healing that is taking place, not just in terms of like the surface reality of yourselves in this situation and kind of wounds you've entered into this equation with, based on disappointments and heartbreaks from this lifetime, but also things that feels like for a lot of you, you've held on to this for, years, centuries, even for some of you, a millennia, just to have this opportunity to reconnect with one another and to start to build kind of the next layer of your eternal soul journey with one another into a more prosperous direction, into the direction of healing, to kind of tie up those loose ends and release a lot of that heaviness that has kind of weighted you both down individually in terms of, you know, the trajectory of your soul and sort of the expansiveness into other types of journeys and experiences beyond just even the details of this lifetime or your current sort of like dynamic with one another. And they also say, yes, your feelings are correct. So if you are sensing that this person has that deep recognition, you are their twin flame, you are their soulmate, you are their twin soul, yes, that is a confirmation that that is true and accurate. And that it may be something that they're struggling to kind of like wrap their brain around. They're you know, a little bit cautious about this. They may have you know, had a series of substantial heartbreaks, or a situation, someone they really thought was the one was kind of their perfect complement, that turned out to sort of fall short of that, or just be kind of like a fragment, like a mirrored aspect of a fragmentary part of them. And what they see with you is kind of more of that full package. You encompass both you know, the light and shadow within yourself, and they feel very comfortable embodying the totality of those aspects within them too, which is drawing them deeper into the situation of wanting to connect more deeply with you, wanting to build and grow and expand this situation, wanting to allow you in more, wanting to express these loving feelings, show more gratitude for you openly. You know, maybe you have yet to even exchange those words of I love you, have that big conversation. For some of you, this can just be a situation where it was kind of like a failure to launch. Maybe you're in no contact with one another, or you're still at that phase of kind of like getting to know one another. You haven't crossed that bridge or that divide between the parameters of your connection up to this point in time and kind of that next level of what's possible. But that is something that this person is definitely thinking about the future with you, you know, and the more that they spend time with you, the more that they kind of like evaluate these little sort of like tests and, you know, this waiting period that they've needed to just really observe and sort of feel the situation out, the more certain that they become that to move forward into the energy of something productive, something of meaning, to rebuild or to build further with you in this situation, that's really in their best interest, that's a good decision to make. And they also say, I'm afraid to tell you the truth. Please just listen to what I have to say. So this can tie into that idea of those little tests, or you know, these little things that this person has kind of tried to bait you with in order to see, like, how are you going to react? How are you sort of moving in your environment? How are you going to move with this sort of like curveball thrown in? This may have been someone that tried to like make you jealous at different points in time, just to see, do you have a jealous streak? You know, when that nerve is touched upon, what do you do? How do you react? This feels like somebody who has kind of like held back the truth of these feelings until they've had an opportunity to see you on your best days and on your worst days. How do you feel when things are going your way? How do you feel when things are not working out in your favor? Like, how do you move? What is your full spectrum of like moods and the shifts and the alterations, and how you know, you deal with others, you deal with the world? What does your self-talk look like? You know, what are your trigger points? How do you deal with things when you are triggered? So this is somebody who's definitely very cautious as far as love is concerned, and it feels like also because of these big feelings they have, in the sense that, you know, you're the one, you're the dream come true, you're the one that they've dreamed about. Maybe for some of you, they dreamed about you prior to meeting you, and it's almost like, I think this is that person from my dreams. You know, maybe you came to them in like a different form, but energetically they recognize you, and it's almost like wanting to be really sure before they open that door. It feels like this person has the intention of being deeply loyal to this situation. It's almost like when they move closer to you, they're not going to want to let go of you in this situation, but they may have been through so much disappointment in the past that it's almost kind of like better to do without than sort of, you know, experience the taste of forever only to just lose that or have that fall apart maybe again. Or, you know, especially if you're like the dream come true for this person, that it's almost, it would be too difficult or too painful to have something build only to have that crumble and fall apart. So a bit of, this feels beyond just kind of somebody who's triggered and is acting very hot and cold. There's a bit of like conscious calculation in how they've been approaching the situation up to this point, but it feels like something that when they take that next step to you to either, you know, develop the situation further or to come out with some kind of personal truth, to grow and evolve the situation, they do intend on letting you know that like they felt this this way for a while. They've taken time to evaluate things. They may need to tell you about their backstory a little bit. And it's something where they're not wanting to like fill you with a bunch of excuses and present you with that, or to make you feel like you've been tricked in a certain sense, or, that they were just kind of like playing a game of cat and mouse with you. But it's very important that you understand kind of their motives for this. It's like they're going to follow up explaining, maybe not the full package of kind of what those motivations or their tactics were, but it's an energy of they're going to come clean about something in that regard. They want to explain something to you, but then follow that up with, this emphasis on, I dreamed about you before I met you. You fit all of these kind of, you check all these boxes, you fit all this criteria. You're the person that I always dreamed of having and never thought was real. And so this is why I've conducted myself up to this point in time in this situation in the way that I have. They also say, I know I ended things badly. Let me make it up to you. So this can tie into a bit of disappointment here, maybe at delays, obstacles that this person has put in place. Some of these things, being triggered very unconsciously, others of these things very intentionally, almost like reaching this kind of plateau or this place where it's like, okay, now here's the chance to sort of take this to the next level. Now here's the chance to dive in deeper, to speak some sort of personal truth. And instead they backed away, or kind of like threw in little wrenches in the machine here in terms of like trying to make you jealous, testing the situation a little bit. And it kind of like, as much as there's harmony that is experienced between the two of you, it almost like it feels there's a lot on this person's part to kind of like put a halt to that in order to sort of ground down back into reality and to kind of get this picture of sort of like, I understand the light and the high vibration possibilities between us, but I need to evaluate and understand, what does this shadow look like between the two of us? How do we draw the shadow aspects out of one another? And what does that look like when it's interacting? And there's a lot of regret for that, but it feels like something that's really, this isn't just somebody who's very maniacal and manipulative. This feels to be something that's really, this person in some way has kind of like made a promise to themselves, almost like, I'm not going to let myself fall head over heels. I'm not going to let myself be put in a situation where I'm so open and vulnerable and I'm giving all of me and then I lose it all. It all crumbles down and then I'm left to pick up the pieces, where it becomes like lopsided or one-sided. It's maybe somebody who has a very big heart, a very generous heart, and they're used to attracting like codependent people, a lot of needy people who just take and kind of their needs are put very much secondary, and they're at a place in their life or just in their emotional journey where it's kind of like enough is enough. And as much as this might not be, necessarily the most agreeable plan forward in order to course correct that, it's what they've come up with at this stage in the game in their life, is kind of like, something has to change. This is what they could think of. This is all they could think to do. And it almost feels as well that this connection, you've come into one another's lives precisely because you've come to that point at some prior stage of like, something has to change within myself and my life. Steps that you've taken to change that, the universe has then opened the door to kind of this blessing and opportunity of this situation. This has the makings to be a dream come true for the both of you, but it's going to require you kind of exercising new coping mechanisms, new layers of like how you love yourselves, how you are able to kind of like maintain your sovereignty and your autonomy within the context of kind of that joint energy of a couple that people develop with one another. And so, it's not the energy of that this person is like necessarily totally to blame for all the delays, although there is a bit of kind of like tricky energy in here where they're really, they're deliberately kind of slowing down this process. They want to be really sure. And it's something that they want to, when they reach this point of feeling comfortable enough to kind of let you in, you've passed all these tests, or just the universe kind of like starts pushing them in the direction of enough is enough. You need to just kind of like flow and trust, or you're going to lose this opportunity. This is somebody who intends on kind of showing you a different side of them, really coming clean about a lot of this and their motivations, and showing you kind of the best of them that they've kept in reserve, that people in their past have maybe taken for granted or taken advantage of. They have a component and a side to them that you've not seen yet, that you're nearing this place, and they are nearing a place of getting ready to kind of open the door to that, to let you into that world, let you into that part of them, to experience that, to see that, to witness that, and to participate with that. And they also say, I'm afraid to love because I have been hurt in the past. So that's that confirmation of somebody who is, once bitten, twice shy. This can be a very deeply romantic, a deeply emotional person, very sensitive, very feeling, and they a lot of feelings here, a deeply feeling person, a deeply empathic person, and just over their life, over the course of their life, and things that have kind of fallen apart as far as love. It's hardened their heart gradually every time. So you come into one another's lives almost in some way, both of you having aspects of yourselves that are locked away, and each person has the key to one another. And it's this test here of like, can we trust ourselves enough to let down those walls and barriers, to kind of trust where our soul is calling us, and kind of this task to, as many times as there's been kind of these ill-fitting situations, or what might have been perceived as kind of mistakes or missteps in love, it's almost like the opportunity the universe presenting the opportunity of the two of you to one another. Like, here's the properly fitting key. Here's this relationship that you've dreamed of. It's possible. You'll both have to work towards this. Work like against adversarial energies within that keep each person sort of guarded and mistrusting in a sense. And then also work to kind of, move into the space of receptivity, of allowing others in, allowing that equal give and take and that exchange. And on the other side of this process of kind of like release and acceptance and flow is the ability to have kind of that relationship that you've both dreamed of, that wasn't possible in circumstances in the past because it required profound change on both of your parts as individuals in order to be able to cultivate that energy of kind of the right circumstances within that could then call in those right circumstances externally as well. And they also say you are integrating your masculine and feminine energies. So this is definitely like a mirrored concept right here. Two people who are in the process of kind of stepping more deeply into the place of trust and flow, and also taking action steps, both to kind of have some tough love with self, especially as far as like this kind of tricky or testing kind of energy on your twin flame or soulmate's part. It's almost like they're needing to be that mama bear to themselves and kind of say enough is enough with the little game playing. You've vetted this person out enough. What more confirmation do you need? It's never going to be 100% guaranteed, and at a certain point you need to just kind of like open the door and allow the chips to fall where they may to experience this. Like, you're not going to be able to taste and savor that beautiful potential if you don't allow yourself to open up to that, if you don't take action steps forward to kind of like bring this into form, bring this into fashion. It's almost like a recognition that this person has that they need to start showing up more in this connection. They may have really expected you to kind of prove yourself, prove that you're different in a way from people that they've been dealing with in the past, kind of made to, these tests and kind of this element of like deliberately sort of holding back. It is the energy of almost like punishing someone new for the mistakes of the past, holding somebody that had no part in something responsible for kind of the sins of the ghosts of the past, to kind of make up for the wounds that others carelessly left behind in their heart. And there's a part of them that's getting to the place of like, enough is enough with all of this. It's time to start showing something different, rather than expecting, someone else, you the viewer, to kind of do all that energy of proving your authenticity, proving, your commitment to this situation, proving that you are who you say you are, who you present as, who you have shown up to be with this person up to this point in time, that it's almost like they're needing to provide something more than they have at this particular point in time as well. So entering into the space of like reciprocity, but also with this idea of like the masculine and the feminine energy. So they really do see you as this perfect complement. You are this dream person for them. You truly are the yin to their yang. saying, in a very beautiful way, in a constructive way, rather than sort of like, we mirror and trigger one another's shadows very deeply, and it's a very corrosive connection. It's almost like these shadows are tolerable, or we can learn to accept and work with these within one another, but then it's also the energy of kind of highlighting and leading one another toward that light within self, that kind of higher vibration and version of self, which it feels like sets this situation apart from those other kind of circumstances of the past that have led to this place of needing to kind of vet this situation out. And they also say, I know spirit is guiding me. So again, that energy of kind of some tough love here, their higher self, maybe even the universe giving them signs and letting them know that they've taken enough time to evaluate, that it's time to kind of wrap that phase up and really start to step into a place of trust, receptivity, and flow, so that the next stage and evolution of this situation between the two of you has a chance to unfold. Kind of like the timing's right. The timing is wrapping up for this period of being a bit guarded and distant, and kind of the next season it involves more reciprocity than has been the case up to this point in time. And they also say spiritual contracts attracting your soul family. So deep recognition here that this is a past life soul connection between the two of you. They do set you apart from others. They see you as somebody very exceptional, somebody very unexpected, that it's no accident the two of you have encountered one another in your lives. And even with that energy of kind of vetting you out, or testing this connection in a certain way, testing the boundaries or the limits of this situation, it's bringing into focus aspects within this person that need to be wrapped up. Kind of like, what's the motivation for doing this? It stems from wounds in the past, people that may not even be a part of their life, or haven't been a part of their life for quite some time. And it's kind of, Spirit is sort of redirecting your twin flame or soulmate to tie up those loose ends, to cut those cords, to close out those narratives and storylines, so that they can be more fully present in building something, and kind of like reaping the full rewards of what's possible in this situation, rather than kind of like holding this circumstance accountable for things that fell apart previously. So I'm going to get some initials, and this can be a first, middle, or last name of you or your twin flame or soulmate, or it could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Okay, we've got I, N, I, G, E, K, M, M, S, W, A, F, L, W, B, and R. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer them through my Etsy shop, and there's a link in the description box of the video for that. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters, including a longer video version of this reading that involves more cards and more decks. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of those out as well. And I've launched a second channel here on YouTube, which is called Lady of the Dawn Tarot. There's a link in the description box as well as in the channel section of my page for that. The format over there consists of readings related to topics other than love and romance. So if you're looking for something a little different from me, that is the place to find it. I thank you for your support there, as well as for your continued support here on this channel. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well.